buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Whatever time of the day it is that you are watching this, I hope that you are having a wonderful day. And I thank you for joining me in setting up my March 2024 bullet journal spread. So with starting off, what I'm doing here is I am just painting a simple tree, and I am going in first with a little bit of the reddish tint. My pens don't have names for their colors. I wish that they did, because it sounds nice to say like burnt sienna and stuff like that, but mine don't. They just have numbers. So anyways, I'm going in with the reddish tree color and then in with a darker muddy color to give it a little bit more depth into the color of the tree trunk, and then in here with a light green. You can see I'm using lids for my little palettes, and this is working a lot better than the previous months. I am though planning on making the trip to the art store soon and actually getting myself a palette, which I'm looking forward to. It'll be a huge upgrade and make my life a bit easier when I'm doing these things. But yeah, so I'm just doing the simple tree, but it's not gonna stay that simple, because what I'm gonna do is I'm making layers for this month. And I am inspired by the garden that was surrounding a little cottage, which was actually the cottage of the owners of the ranch that I grew up on. My older sister and I, Layne, would care for this garden when the owners weren't there, and it was a beautiful, beautiful rose garden with so many other flowers and plants, and it had the most beautiful view looking out to a orchard that had peach trees, almond trees, apricot trees, apple trees, plum trees, and it was really beautiful. At times we had sheep in it, and then there was fields beyond that and mountain ranges beyond that. And so that is my inspiration for my spread today. I really love all the memories that I have that are related to that little house and that garden. And so that is what I am basing this spread off, in a multi-layer spread that will lay out the view seen from that garden. So here you can see that I have already made my calendar on the left side, and I'm not labeling it because I will put the label somewhere else you will see at the end. And I have pre-sketched out the garden, so I'm gonna go in here and paint some roses, and I'm just using very simple methods because I am not really an artist. I am learning still. I don't really know how to paint. I don't really know how to do watercolors or any other paints for that matter, but I find it very relaxing, very enjoyable, and so that's why I've been doing this now for a few years and trying to learn as I go. So excuse me with my my attempts that sometimes don't always turn out that great, but like I said, I'm just learning, and I'm happy for each and every one of you that is joining me in this journey. So you can see I kind of discovered that this brush makes a little leaf shape when you just tap it at the right angle. So I'm just trying to fill out a rose bush by tapping in with the green around here and there to make the leaf shapes. And then I'm going to fill in over the top of that, and then I'll add in more leaves in a minute. And I just want to say, because there might be some of you who are looking to buy bullet journal and use watercolors in it, and I realized recently that I kind of made a mistake when I was buying my supplies. So I bought my Primrosia watercolor brush pens, and that's all the color that I'm using. And I really like them, but I was disappointed at how they interact with the paper in my bullet journal. And so I kind of discovered that actually I should have just gone ahead and bought the Primrosea bullet journal as well. It was a little bit more pricey, and that's why I went for the Vivid Scribbles one instead. But the Primrosea actually sells watercolor bullet journals, and I think it would be worth a few more dollars. And I think that's what I'm going to try to go for next time, because when I put these watercolors down on this paper, it really doesn't give me much time to move it, and it also doesn't spread around. So I recently experimented just to prove to myself that it was the paper and not the pens. And what I did was I got watercolor paper that I have, and I directly drew with the brush pens onto the watercolor paper, and then I tried to put water down and mix it out, and it actually worked really well. And on this paper, however, if I do that, there is almost no blending that happens afterwards. So I kind of regret that choice that I made of not buying the watercolor bullet journal. But next time, like I said, I'm learning, and it's an ongoing experience. And this is just helping me to get better at using the mixing of the colors before I go in, and doing it with a brush instead of maybe having it a little bit easier with the watercolor paper. So you guys, I did this cutout with a razor knife because I don't have an X-Acto knife. It was like a box cutter razor that I may or may not have stolen from my husband's office. But anyways, it took so long to cut this out, and it was a lot of work. And so I think it was worth it. I'm really happy with the effect that it gave. But yeah, it was pretty difficult. That's another supply that I want to get, is an X-Acto knife pretty soon. So anyways, with that front layer done of the little garden fence with the gate and the little rock wall, that you can barely see. That rock wall was actually, 4 feet tall or something like that, but the house was kind of raised up, and so it was pretty high rock wall. But I just did the very start of it there. And the little bird bath, I remember it, that I loved it, and I want one like it someday soon, because there are so many birds that come into my garden at my house, and I think that they deserve a bird bath, but I have yet to get one. Anyways, so now I am just going in with a soft pink for the trees. This is supposed to be around this time of year, in the springtime, and these trees are completely covered in blossoms. Some of them are white, some of them are pink, but I'm just doing pink because the white really wouldn't show up. And so then I'm gonna go in and do all of the trunks in a nice dark muddy brown color, and I think it looks cute. It's very simplistic, and there's really not many details, but I'm trying more to focus just on the layering of the different parts of the scene and not so much on all the tiny details. So then I'm going to do a second row of trees that you can see behind it. In reality, there was way more than just 2 rows, but I didn't want to make it too crazy, and I'm also going to be cutting this page out, so I thought 2 rows would be quite enough. And then what I'm going to do, see, I'm using these lids, and it actually worked out really well that I dedicated one lid to like the darker brown colors, and then another one to the lighter pinkish colors, and one to the green, and then one for like the blues, and it worked out really well. So what I did is I added a little tiny touch of black to the same pink that I used, just to make the second row of trees look a little tiny bit darker and help differentiate between the farther ones and the closer ones. Okay, so there are the orchard trees, and then I'm just dabbing in little spots of color, a slightly darker shade of pink to kind of show the blossoms a little bit more. And then I am going to go in and do grass, which is very easy. I'm going around my 2 sheep here. And then I decided to go ahead and make the sheep be black sheep. We did have black sheep, and I loved some of them. Some of them we didn't love so much. There was a particular one who hung out in the orchard, but he was white on black, not like these ones, and he was very big. We named him Dodge because we had to dodge him all the time because he wanted to hit everybody who he felt threatened by, and he did hit a few of us. My sisters will know all the stories about that stinking ram. But anyways, yes, so there's the orchard with my nice little sheep. So these are Shetland sheep, and I actually love Shetland sheep, and they had the curled horns, and they were small, so not dangerous, and they were actually nice, not aggressive towards us. And then I'm just gonna paint over the back of the orchard using the same exact methods that I already did. And then I'm taping off, and I'm going to do the first mountain range on this next page. So what I'm trying to do also is make sure that from looking at the spread from the first page of the calendar, I want to be able to see a bit of each and every layer. I want all the layers to overlap and work together to form this landscape view. And so I'm checking beforehand, and I'm kind of sketching from the last layer the lines so that I can make sure that I will be seeing the amount that I want to see on the next layer that I'm doing in. Also, I'm trying to leave space for sky. So here I'm going in with a slightly darker shade of the same color to give this mountain range a little bit more dimension. And I'm just making the lines kind of flowing like shadows to show that the mountain has ups and downs and little rifts to them. So I want to tell you a little bit about my favorite memories from that garden. Of course, there was many hours of weeding and caring for the garden because, like I said, my older sister Layne, she would take care of it, and she taught me how to take care of it when she got to be a little older and started having real jobs on other ranches around us. She kind of handed off this job to me after she taught me everything I needed to do. And so I would go and I would spend an hour or two at a time, and I would weed and I would water and care for the garden, and I really loved it. But from the time I was really little, I have these other memories of an Easter egg hunt, and there's a picture somewhere of that, of getting stung by a bumblebee on a different occasion. And then also I remember eating the loquats on the tree, the loquat tree that was there, and they were so good. And I have a loquat tree now because I loved them so much growing up, and the only place I ever tried them was in that garden. And so now I have my own loquat tree that I grew from seed, and it's actually borne fruit now for the past 3 years. So it's awesome. It's kind of like full circle. Another thing from that garden are the roses, tea roses. I do love big roses, but I especially loved tea roses because they had a trellis arch as like an entryway, and it was loaded with tea roses. And so also thanks to that, I always wanted to have my own tea roses. I have yet to make it into a trellis. It's growing, it's getting pretty tall, but I do have it, and it's the exact same shade and the exact same smell. But I'm going to be adding in those type of details like small roses and stuff in the weeklies. And actually the weekly spread, I'm going to make a different video out of it because I am going to try some new things this month, and it's going to be a little bit more extra time. So just for time's sake, I decided to make another video for them. I'm sorry about this clip, it's a little blurry, I'm not sure why, but I left it in just so you can see how much water I use. It was very, like, a lot of water to get that sky and try to make sure it was even. And the paper, as you can see, holds up pretty well even with all that water. So here you go. You can see all the different layers and how they lay out this view in front of your eyes with the 2 mountain ranges and then the sky behind them. And the next thing I'm going to do is start doing my monthly setup. This is my journal that my same sister, my older sister, Layne, gave me for my 16th birthday. And I looked in it, I was looking through it, and I decided to make my quote to take it from that journal. And I liked what I wrote. I mean, I wrote a lot of silly teenage stuff, but I found this one. It says, "It's nice to know that I'm always one step away from being one step closer." And I did notice that I missed the E on the end of one, but don't worry, I added it back in. And then I am labeling on the farthest layer March, so that can be seen from anywhere in the spread. March 2024, and I use my stencils. I love my stencils. I've had them for quite a while, and I highly recommend, if you don't have any, to get some. And then down here, I'm going to use this grass space for the menu, and I just left a small space for each day because I only plan out dinners. And this is going to be my gratitude tracker. So I was just working with the space that I had on the back of each of these pages, and it worked out, I think, pretty well. So it's today I am thankful for. Sometimes I write different things. I'll write my gratitude tracker, or just I am thankful for this, but I like to mix it up a little bit. So this month I wrote today I'm thankful for, and then I just wrote in the days of the month. And then here on the right, I have my goals page, and I just made 8 boxes, again using my stencils, and it's very simple. I'll fill those in as I go and as I identify what I want to try to achieve this month. And on the farthest page, it is the spread that requires the most space. It's my sleep tracker. This took forever to write in all these numbers. I have never done a sleep tracker like this before. There's a lot of pictures of them. I kind of liked it, so I thought I would try it. I'm not sure if I'll do it again or not because it really took forever. But anyways, I do like how it turned out. And moving on to the left page here, I'm going to try out a different style of school tracker for my 2 daughters that I am homeschooling right now. So I just made an 8 spaces wide sections for each of them, and then I think it was about 24 school days for the month, and so I made enough of them to fill in, and then I wrote down our subjects, and I added in a symbol for each subject. So it doesn't matter what day of the month, all I want to see is how much we're getting done. So I'll be able to write in those symbols on the days that they do them and see how much at the end of the month we've done. And then the last thing that I'm filling in is my brain dump, and I did it on the back of the orchard trees, and it's just my thoughts. So here you have it. I hope you like it. I have to admit, this is my favorite spread so far of 2024. I feel like this one is really me, and it's my style, and I'm really, really excited to use it. I had this idea floating around in my head for quite a while, and I wasn't sure what space I wanted to apply it to, but I found some old pictures, and I just had to do this one. So I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope that it inspired you as well, and I hope that if you're like me and you don't feel like you're a good artist, I hope you can still go ahead and get started, and don't be afraid of things not being perfect, because in the end, nothing really is perfect, and all we can do is enjoy all the good things in life, and one of those good things is sitting down and having fun. So I hope you can do that yourself this month, and I thank you once again for joining me, and please come back if you want to see what I do for the weeklies. I think it's going to be pretty cute. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.